Hello everybody, welcome to Hooks, Lines, and Hip Hop. I'm Hakeem.
Jacob.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Sorry it's been such a long time. Jake, how long has it been, like 3 months?
I don't know the time frame. I know that our last review was Sci-Hi the Prince, I believe.
It's about like 3 months.
Yeah, we've had stuff going on. Jalen's planning a wedding. He's getting married next month. He's not here. He's at a birthday party.
Yeah, and UNC's
playing, so he ain't gonna miss that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we weren't gonna miss the opportunity to review this one because X's last album is our highest rated review.
Yeah, it is actually. Man, I forgot about that.
We're not gonna miss that opportunity.
That's the first time we ever used kind of webcam. It's still kind of new for us trying to get everything set up. So
yeah,
it's a lot of growing pains right now, just with all the moving and stuff. But thank you guys for joining us. So we're gonna be reviewing what do you call it? Question?
I don't know what he's really calling it. If he does some interviews, we'll know.
Look, I'm going to call it question. Because everything just kind of starts with a question. He's telling you about himself. Yeah. Maybe he's answering some questions too, you know. The last album that we reviewed was 17. And Jake thought really highly of 17. I feel like I
liked it a lot.
He did, yeah, right away. And for me, it was kind of one of those where I understood why he enjoyed it. I thought it sounded really good, but it wasn't something that I was playing regularly, you know. But after about 6 months after, probably going into 2017, I really started, or into 2018, I guess, I started to enjoy it a lot more than when it previously dropped. Maybe because I was getting used to the sound, more of that emo folk. That's what Needle Drop described it as, and I think that's a great term.
I don't know what I would love to hear what X genreizes his music as, because iTunes says this album is pop.
Pop, yeah.
A lot of people say he's like the alternative hip hop sound. I think that's probably the best. I think eventually here we're gonna see, like with Uzi's music and X's music, it's gonna push an alt rap genre. Yeah. I mean, it's already there, more underground, not as talked about, not as mainstream. But I think that there will be an alternative rap movement, just like alternative rock had its movement.
Yeah, I don't really want to. I don't want to get too deep into this, but recently there was a YouTuber who his single went platinum. Have you heard of Rice Gum?
No.
He really only he did a diss track about Jake Paul, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Yes, I've heard of him.
And that single is platinum. How do you feel about that?
I mean, the age we live in now, by anybody, if you can.
I'm worried that it's like it cheapens hip hop a little bit.
I don't know. I mean, you got to think Jake Paul, who's also related to Logan Paul, have both been in the, I wouldn't say the media, but have been in like the social media as far as YouTube and Twitter is concerned. Mm-hmm. So not only do you have hip hop fans viewing that for hip hop, you have Jake Paul fans viewing it for him too.
Right.
So
and Rice Gum fans.
Right.
I understand that. At the same time, and then we have like Danielle Bergoli and people like that.
Dude, don't talk bad about Bad Baby.
I'm not going to, because the remix was kind of good. I'm sure she has good ghostwriters or whatever. I don't. That's kind of fucked up. I want to give her credit. Maybe she did come up with it herself. But anyways,
doubt it.
But the reason why I brought that up is because the fact that X doesn't label the album as hip hop and rap,
right,
is kind of odd to me. And it's not a huge deal, but it feels like a little bit of a deal.
There's been a lot of rappers that don't want to be called rappers. They want to be called artists, because a lot of times the media, when they talk about rappers, they talk about it in a bad connotation.
Right.
That's funny. Somebody said fuck Rice Gum and the Pauls. But
Tyler. Shout out Tyler.
Ty Alpa?
Is it Ty Alpa? He said from GMC.
I would assume that, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm live streaming too.
So no, I think that's a big thing, because most, I don't want to use white America, but white America, when you talk about rappers, usually that's used in a negative connotation, when really they are artists. Right. Hip hop's the most consumed genre.
That's what I grew up on, though. That's why it bothers me, because you and I were both people that, even when hip hop wasn't the biggest genre in the world right now, because I mean the fact that the Billboard charts are basically dominated all by hip hop artists is a very important thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's showing a shift in sound. You know, Taylor Swift is not outselling Kendrick by leaps and bounds.
No.
Drake is dominating with God's Plan. He's number one on the Billboard charts right now. That's important. But what I'm worried about is it just feels like now, if you say you're a fan of hip-hop, it means nothing. Whereas before it felt like a culture. It did really feel like something that you had to have credentials before you could get into hip-hop. But I understand streaming and the internet kind of made it easier for everybody to get in. So now it's kind of just like a flood.
And there's still tiers. Like, I think there's some SoundCloud rappers that aren't really reaching like the royalty that Drake is on.
Right. And they never will because their sound isn't as marketable. Drake is an exception, but again, X, I feel like he should label himself as hip-hop because this album is incredibly creative and it's a fantastic album. Yeah. In case you guys didn't know already, people on Snapchat know I've been playing this nonstop. I spoke with a friend of mine, Abu, and I compared X to Kanye.
Yeah, it's like a young Kanye.
He's young Kanye. Like,
I think him, X, and Jaden Smith, not Jaden Smith. Yeah, Jaden Smith.
Jaden Smith, yeah.
X and Jaden Smith have kind of seen Kanye's path, I think, and are kind of picking and choosing what they want to follow and emulate. Right. And I think it's working for both of them.
The difference, and I don't want to diss Jaden, because I did enjoy Sire, and I think he's a talented person. He did movies, he did an anime on Netflix on top of releasing a couple of mixtapes and an album. He's obviously in the same headspace. However, I think he borrows from contemporaries too much, whereas X is more like his own person.
Right.
X really, I mean, he's embodying different genres on this album. Punk, folk, emo. He's borrowing from other genres, but he really makes them his own. Same way Kanye kind of does. With each album, he borrows from a sound that's popular at that time, but it becomes his own. Right. And he makes it better, to me, you know? Yeah. That's to me what makes X like Kanye.
Like with Autotune, I mean, everybody knew about T-Pain. T-Pain was doing his thing, but I think with 808s and Heartbreak, Kanye made Autotune better than what T-Pain was using it for. Absolutely. That's in my opinion.
He raised it to like an album form, whereas T-Pain was more like a singles artist.
And to go along with kind of comparing X and Kanye, in the intro, where he's doing that little like spoken track kind of explaining the album, the last 4 or 5 lines, he says, "So with this project, again, you are entering my mind, feeling my insanity, feeling my genius, my energy and joy."
Yeah.
Like, if I were to read those 5 lines and had to pick who I would match those words with, if Kanye and X were both in that multiple choice, it'd be difficult to choose.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Kanye, I think now the difference is he's more braggadocious. X is a little bit, he likes to be seen as in pain, a little bit more closed off.
I don't think X wants to live the life that Kanye's living, as far as being in the media as much as he is.
Right.
Because I do know X is on house arrest, so he's not in the public. But even before all that, you would see him at shows doing hip-hop stuff, but he was not out in the media in the forefront. And I think that's because he doesn't want to live that.
No, not at all. But I just wanted to point that out. Like, the last album didn't make me feel as much as this one did, and I saw X on Adam22's live stream. I didn't watch the whole thing, unfortunately. But I did hear him say that he rushed the last album.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's got a ton of music that's halfway finished and stuff that he's decided not to release, because, I mean, he is on house arrest.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know if you've watched any of his vlogs, but he plays video games and makes music. That's really his life.
Yep.
Which it's sad that his situation that he's in has pushed him to kind of not recreate himself, but dive deeper into his sound and develop it more. But I think that's what has happened with him being isolated.
Right. I also think that on 17, it felt a lot more samey. Question mark, let's jump into it a little bit. I think, first of all, the intro, I know a lot of people are going to hate on it just because he's calling himself a genius, and you're not supposed to do that. But I feel like, after listening to it, I genuinely do feel that there's a lot of creativity being explored. This album has been the best thing that's come out this year.
Yes.
We're in March, which honestly, I know a lot of you guys are saying it's early, but really, there have been a lot of misses.
Yeah.
Album-wise.
The only thing coming close to this for me is Prime, and I have not really listened to it in the level I've listened to this one.
And we should review that one, but I think I just felt a lot more urgency to talk about X's album. I really wanted to talk about X's album because it's all I've been listening to.
Right.
But Prime 2, Migos was underwhelming. Lil Yachty was underwhelming. We haven't had any like great music to listen to.
No, and part of the reason this album's going to be so big and it's going to continue to be listened to is because of how dynamic X is. He's one of the most in-demand rappers right now. Ever since Look at Me blew up and the controversy between him and Drake with KMT, he is just, just shot to the top. And anything with his name on it is selling.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also important to bring up the fact that we do understand that X has prior charges and domestic violence allegations that he's battling right now. But a lot of these artists out right now have a lot of controversy surrounding their names. 6ix9ine has like pretty much pedophilic allegations. He was caught in a video with a 13-year-old and he was smacking her ass while she was performing a sexual act, which is horrendous.
Yeah.
But he's still finding success. So my point is, we only want to focus on the music.
Right.
And because I'm praising this album, and we are praising this album,
doesn't mean that we're praising what he did or didn't do.
Right, exactly. And it's up to the courts to decide what he does. But I'm still a fan of X's music regardless. And he goes deep into his mind for sure. In the intro, he says that this album is going to be uplifting, but I don't feel like it gets to uplifting until probably about Floor 55 is where the shift is.
And you can even have a depressing album and it be uplifting, because if somebody else is struggling with the issues that he's talking about, the fact that he was brave enough to come out and talk about these issues would be uplifting to that person.
Absolutely. And also, I found it was so funny. I sent Sad to a few of my friends.
Yeah.
And especially my friends who were girls. They said that song, one girl told me that, I think it was Jordan, she told me that she teared up when she heard it.
No, it's an emotional song.
It's so crazy to me that basically it's just a hook, it's the hook, and one verse. But it makes people as emotional as it does.
I said this about Kendrick's song You on To Pimp a Butterfly.
I love that song.
It's not so much what he's saying, and I'm sure parents your parents have said this to you, your significant other has said this to you. It's not what you said, it's how you said it. And I think you can hear the inflections in his voice, and you can tell that he really feels what he's saying.
Absolutely.
Like with Kendrick, you could hear it almost sounded like he was crying.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what he was intending it to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
I
thought like that. Also like he was like a little drunk, maybe like I double parked Austin in the red. Like it was that like drawing out your words the way he did. And Jordan, she said it put her in her feelings. Like I think like people who listen to X, especially I found women. I'm not trying to be sexist, but really women who have listened to X, it kind of is like an emotional listen. Yeah. You know what I mean? I didn't really feel that. I kind of just felt like I was really vibing just heavy to it, but I didn't feel sad necessarily. But I do understand that X really is pulling from a place of pain.
Yeah.
But again, what you're going to notice most on this album, your first listen, is not so much what he's talking about, it's how he's talking about it. Because the versatility is being emphasized heavily on this album. You know what I mean? Like he jumps from...
It's racetrack out there.
He jumps from songs like Moonlight and Sad, which are very ethereal. They remind me of Weeknd songs.
Yeah.
But not quite as fleshed out or as low key, but kind of a little bit more upbeat, but really upbeat Weeknd songs, like something that would be on Starboy. And then you've got Floor 555, that's more of like a screamo track with some sludgy just guitars. That sounds really good and would definitely be used in like a mosh setting. You know what I mean? Like people would mosh to that song. And then you've got songs like Numb, which are more so just really low key.
I think he's
ballads.
He's a lot like Travis in that sense, where he can have such a big album, but the sound be so diverse.
Right.
There was one song, I don't remember which one it was. He even sort of sounded like Travis in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But like Travis, I've seen him in concert, and his concert was wild. The atmosphere can go from him doing Antidote, which had the crowd going crazy, to him slowing it down and doing Sweet Sweet, and everybody just being silent and listening to the music. And I think that's what X could do between like the Floor 555 and Numb. Like I really hope, I would love to see Numb hit the radio. It sounds bad because I know like you talked about, it kind of weakens hip hop. Mm-hmm. But that's a song that people that live in South Carolina knows about. Magic 98.9. It's like a soft
It's
rock.
a big local
all the,
station.
Yeah, all the hits. Like, that could be on that. And they play songs from Elton John, Billy Joel. I think that the sound here transcends not only genres, but also the people that would be interested in listening to it.
Yeah, and also on that Adam 22, it was a live stream. He also said that anybody who listens to this album could listen through it and basically say, I didn't like this song, but there was one I liked.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Most definitely.
And even the people that I've talked to that didn't like this album, they came to me and they were like, yeah, I didn't like most of the album, and I think like his singing isn't that good, but I like da-da-da-da-da.
Right. See, that's exactly how I am with the song with Matt Ox.
I love that song.
I mean, it's a good song, but I don't think it
song.
fits. Like, every other song on the album, he's sort of talking about something, and that song just... I could have done without it.
He always talks about basically being able to do what others do, though.
Yeah.
He says, how am I going to take Trippie Redd's fans if I'm not making the type of music Trippie Redd is making?
Right.
How am I not going to get Migos fans if I'm not making what they're making?
But why is he appealing to Matt Ox fans? I know, like, you say Matt Ox is a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I said that to you in confidence, by the way. Now we have to talk about it on the podcast.
But like, what I'm saying is...
Matt Ox is a guilty pleasure.
There's other fan bases that he could reach that I think would have done better. Like, when I think of X and his features, he doesn't have a lot of features on his albums.
No.
Like, the last album, the biggest one was Trippie Redd.
It was the only one.
Yeah, and then on this one was Joey Badass, who's coming off a huge year last year in 2017 with All American Badass.
Yeah. Incredible album.
So I just think it weakens the album when you go from having a feature with Joey Badass to having Matt Ox. That's just my opinion, though.
I want to argue for Matt Ox because, again, I did enjoy the feature. To me, it's basically showing the strength of X. Because while you didn't care for the feature, would you say it's listenable at least?
Yeah, I mean...
You're not going to skip it.
No, I skipped it a couple times, but okay. it is a good song. I like the sound. I just don't think it fits the mood of the album. I
really couldn't get a gauge for the mood.
Well, there isn't. It just bounces back and forth.
So, it's bipolar.
I don't know. All the other songs had a sort of a strong message, and that one just wasn't to me.
I got you. I mean, I understand not liking Matt Ox, and I was listening to it with my friend Jackson.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still in here, but he was watching. But I was listening to it with Jackson, and he told me that he said, a 13-year-old's rapping. And I said, yeah, a 13-year-old really is rapping. Yeah. And somebody else said that it reminded them of Justin Bieber when he was younger. And I was like, maybe because they're just like both adolescent.
Well, here's the thing. Justin Bieber, in my opinion, has always been talented. I think we all kind of hated on him before because he was so popular and we just didn't vibe with that kind of music.
Right.
But he's always been talented, and it took people like Diddy and other people respecting Justin Bieber, and then I look, well, if Diddy can respect this man, I ought to at least look into it.
Usher.
And that may be, Usher too. That may be sort of the thing with Matt Ox. Like, if some more
That's
people start...
That's a big cosign.
Yeah, if more people start co-signing, just like with 17, Kendrick kind of co-signed... Kendrick kind of co-signed X because he tweeted out, you guys need to go listen to this album.
Raw feelings.
Yeah, and the message of their albums, Damn and 17, were very similar, talking about mental problems and mental health, which is not talked about in hip-hop at all.
No, and I think with both X and Kendrick's album, Kendrick's Damn, is the fact that both of these albums feel extremely personal, difficult to grasp.
Yeah.
Kind of all over the place vibe-wise and sound-wise, though I think Damn is still a lot more conceptual and is packaged together a lot more tightly than this album is.
Well, and Kendrick has more resources than X does as far as making an album. Because of the fact that he's not locked up in a house.
Okay, I was going to say, because like the fact that if people aren't... I think anybody would send X a beat at this point. I mean, he beat out Logic. Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah. That's a big deal. I'm not talking quality-wise, which... I fucking hate Bobby Tarantino 2. We will not talk about Bobby Tarantino 2. That is a trash album. I really want to do a worst albums of 2018 this year.
That would be the only one.
No.
It's so bad.
We're talking about Culture 2, too.
Culture 2 is better than Bobby Tarantino 2.
That's true. I just got tired of the Migos sound, I guess. But really, Bobby Tarantino 2 is garbage. And he's stealing from Travis Scott. But anyways.
But I just think Kendrick has a better... more people, I think, right now respect Kendrick because there are like the old heads in hip hop and like the moral people in hip hop that, oh, I don't mess with X because of these allegations you have. Like we talked about, like we're in it for the music. I'm sure we've all heard the saying, like, don't hate the sinner, hate the sin.
Right.
Like obviously what he's accused of is horrible. It's in the forefront of all media right now. But we're here. This is a hip hop podcast, not politics or
not at all.
Anything else.
And again, I will always be on the side of good music. I don't care who's making good music, as long as it's good. And legitimately, pull up the track list for me. Some of X's best songs are definitely on this album. Alone Part 3. Did you listen to the first two?
No, I mean, I'm sure I have, but they're not as memorable as this one.
I think this is already like a good starting point. X kind of got hurt by that girl. Yeah. The one who made the allegations about X was actually his first girlfriend, I believe. And this song alone is kind of showing like how much damage. I don't know if it's that relationship specifically, but it does show like how much pain is caused, like taking his heart and stepping on it pretty much. And then you've got Moonlight that comes in, and it's just so much more of like an ethereal cloud rap ballad. I think Travis Scott would sound really good on this song. Sad comes in, is very emotional. Remedy for a Broken Heart is something that I feel like could have been on 17.
Oh, yeah.
Easily. Some of the songs that I think were made in the same headspace were that one. Numb. Pain Equals Best Friend. Yeah. I think could have been on that one, which Travis Barker did really good on the
that was clickbait on that too. Yeah. When I pulled this up, that was the first song I went to. I'm thinking, okay, really? he got a Travis song, because on iTunes, I don't know if we can get it on the camera.
It just says Travis.
Let's see if it'll focus. It's trying. Yeah, see, it says Pain Equals Best Friend featuring Travi. So I'm thinking, oh yeah, Travis Scott and X, this is about to be banging, because we saw what he did with Dark Knight Dumbo with Trippy.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh yeah, this is going to be sweet. But then Travis Barker, I was actually kind of more excited that it was Travis Barker.
Who's worked with rappers in the past, and the game has a Travis Barker feature. That's the biggest.
I saw him.
Most notable one I can remember.
2 years ago, they were played at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena here. Blink-182 did. And it was... I'm not a huge rock fan, but Travis Barker is a legend of rock and hip-hop. So I went in there and kind of watched.
Absolutely.
One of the best drummers... I don't want to get off on rock music, but one of the best drummers since the Rev from Avenged Sevenfold.
Mm. And again, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, X is not doing anything like too crazy. He's just taking from like the skin, like the surface. He's basically surface level for all the genres that he's trying." However, what I'll say is, most people who are listening to X have listened to hip hop.
Right.
And hip hop is as dominating as it is right now. Maybe that's the only genre you listen to. So maybe if you see X doing this kind of music, you hear what he's saying and you're like, that's pretty cool. What other bands are there out there that are like that?
Right.
What I want to say is maybe this album can open people up to newer genres. Maybe they find bands and sounds that they like, and they find new aspects of music, which is really important. That's what I think X is doing with this album. I think he's opening up people's minds to newer genres.
And like that too, people say, well, X is bad for hip-hop because of the allegations, because like
Tekashi 6ix9ine is worse for hip-hop because he's on the books.
Yeah.
X's allegations.
Right, hits allegations, and like you said, people do think it's kind of surface level. But here's what, I've said this about other projects that we've reviewed, mainly the Hamilton mixtape. You brought people that were big into history into hip-hop. Yep. Now you're bringing people that are big into folk music into hip-hop. You're bringing people that are into screamo rock into hip-hop. And even if it's not, they don't like the whole project. It's like you said, they can find one or two tracks on this album that they say, yeah, I do really like this, even though I don't like this track, or I don't like whatever.
And the Latin song, too.
Yeah.
That one, to me, the fact that I was listening to the Spanish language in my music. I mean, I've listened to Latin.
I've thought about that when I was cleaning today. There was this just rancid smell in my house. So I opened up the windows, I was cleaning, and I sat down, I was doing something, and my windows were open, and I'm thinking to myself, somebody's going to walk by and be like, there was a Hispanic guy living below me. And I thought, like, that was just kind of like, if I were walking by and I knew, like, my neighbor, I knew what they looked like and who they were, and I heard them listening to Latin music, I'd be like,
I don't
I'd be
even
listening to
speak
Latin
Spanish.
music.
LOL.
Yeah. So I mean, and I think a lot of people are gonna say, "Oh, he's just trying to bite off the Despacito wave." I don't think that's true.
And
He's from Florida, and I mean, this is just geography. There is a major Hispanic population. in
Cuban
Florida.
specifically too, and also I think the guy that he was speaking of, I'm sorry, I don't know his name, but he said that he kind of met him through mutual friends.
Yeah.
And that's important too, because it's people say mumble rap. It's not about the lyrics. Well, okay, if you really feel that, can you listen to this song, which is predominantly Spanish,
Yeah.
for the first half, and still vibe to it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, you can. And that's another thing about this album. Aside from Infinity, what else? Infinity really is the most traditional hip hop that we ever get.
Yeah.
From X, which again he's done that sound too, and he's excelled in it. So is Trippie Redd, which is how I can tell he's talented, as opposed to most people saying.
I do want to talk about something. I did see this a little bit on social media. People were saying, "Oh, he mentioned the Parkland students. That's just to get views." I honestly don't think it is, and this is why. I think X, assuming that he didn't get big in rap and the issues that he struggles with inside, would it have been so out of character to see X be a school shooter? Would he not fit a school shooter?
He makes like
profile?
that school shooter music,
Right?
They say
The things he talks about and the stuff he's dealt with, that's kind of how society stereotypes school shooters and that type of mentality. Mm-hmm. And I think that if he didn't have the influence of hip hop in his life and the stuff that has been successful in his life, I'm not saying he would shoot up a school, but I think he would be into darker stuff and be doing worse things than he's accused of.
I think we can talk about that more so as like stereotyping, and how somebody who looks like X, somebody who makes music like X, people who listen to music like X and that are in their teenage years would get stereotyped.
Right.
And the important thing is to show that just because he makes this kind of music, just because you listen to this kind of music is an outlet at the end of the day. Music is a way to get out what you're feeling. And if you want to fucking scream on a track and make something like 455, 555, or 55, or 555, or something like Death Grips too, for example, that doesn't mean that you're like this angry person who's... You could be a very happy person and still make this kind of music. You could be a very happy person and still listen to this kind of music. At the end of the day, X is challenging, like you said, yeah, like that stereotype of, oh, if you make this kind of music, if you have this color hair, you're a school shooter.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Also, I want to mention this. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but I watched Lil Peep's memorial. It was live streamed on YouTube. And when his mom came up and was talking about the way he looked and why he kept getting face tattoos and dyed his hair and was doing all this crazy stuff, is because people bullied him in school and people thought he was weird. So he kind of embraced that. It's like the labeling theory. You tell somebody they're something so many times, they're going to become that.
Right.
And she was saying how they'd be out shopping and they'd pass somebody on a sidewalk and they would cross the sidewalk to not walk by him. And that, it felt like she was talking directly to me. Because I don't know if it may not. I don't think it was you. I think it was Mikkel has said, "Man, you gotta listen to Lil Peep." This is before his death. And I looked him up. I was like, I'm done hearing these little rappers. Like, it's just too many. I looked him up, and based off of his image and his name, I wrote him off until I heard about his death and looked him up, and then realized, like, man, this dude was actually really good, and he's nothing like society would view him as. The same way I did. I mean, I felt awful for it, and it's too late that I realized that after he was dead. But I think the same thing goes with X. I think his wild image and the stuff he's accused of and the way he portrays himself sometimes negatively affects him.
And it can alienate people just because they don't feel that they can identify with that person. And people say, "Oh, well, he's just too edgy and he's cringe and all this stuff."
Right.
But if you really take the time and listen to this album, I genuinely can't think of a reason why you can't find at least one song.
Well, and I think he's heard that criticism of it's too edgy and you're too aggressive, because he even said in that intro track where he's talking that this was going to be less aggressive.
Yeah, it was,
than what
and it
he's
was
done
shorter and it was more concise. Yeah, you're right.
I think even he knows that. Like, if I'm so aggressive, I'm going to keep. It's kind of like Eminem's music. If Eminem continued to make the cringy music that he made, yeah, you'd still have that messed up fan base, but your fans wouldn't grow with you as the artist grows.
Right.
So I think he understands that, and kind of wants to move away with that, but not get away from his roots, because then again, he is going to get criticized for, you're switching it up because people didn't like it.
Right. Again, I think this is an album everyone will like at least one track from.
Most definitely.
It shows that X has longevity on his side. 17, I don't think showed that as much, although I did see a genius there. I think this album for sure shows that X has, I want to say he has 5 years in the game at least, and I think he has the potential to be this generation's Kanye. Kids younger than us are going to be looking up to him, saying that they inspired him. And I want to give this album, I just want to give my rating, I give it a 10.
I give it a 9 because of the Malox feature. That's it.
So what were you...
And the things you said on, it was either Instagram or Snapchat, talking about how some of the songs do feel short, and you'd like to hear X on a full-length song. But his thing is saying more with less.
Right.
So that is his thing, but I think more people would like... And even the stuff, like his features that he does are really short. They're not a typical, like, verse length.
I want to be cynical.
I'd like to hear more of him in a traditional way, but...
I want to be cynical, and I did rate this album a 10, which I don't think that necessarily means it's a classic. A 10 for me means that I am heavily, heavily, heavily enjoying this album.
Yeah.
Some albums that I would rate this a 10, for example, that I played when I say 10, I mean I played them very highly. Hey, Jalen. I played them very highly would be like Rodeo, for example,
right.
When that first dropped.
That is a 10.
That is a 10.
Rodeo's a 10.
That is a 10. But I played it heavily for like 2 or 3 months, and I could definitely see myself doing that with this one. I'm not going to call it a classic. I think right now it's definitely for the times, and it's a very good album, and I would recommend it. It will make my year-end list. It will definitely make my mid-year list. It'll probably be number 1, unless Travis wants to blow my brain and freaking release Astroworld.
Hey, who was it that just said Astroworld is a whole nother level of music?
I don't know.
I don't remember. It was a big name producer.
It was a producer?
Which there's no telling
Metro?
what's coming out. It wasn't Metro.
Oh, okay.
There's no telling what's coming out here soon. Travis and Kanye were spotted again in the mountains.
Right.
Making
in Wyoming.
Music. Yep. So, yes, like you said, this is the best album to come out this year.
It is, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
R.I.P. to Jalen. He's probably still wiping his tears because UNC lost.
Did they lose?
Yes, they did. To Texas A&M.
I'm sorry, Jalen. Actually, I'm not sorry.
Money Manziel.
All right. Well, before we end off, you guys got our opinions. This is a great album. I recommend it to everybody.
Most definitely.
What are some albums that you're looking forward to for this year?
Definitely Kanye and Travis. The Prime 2 album, so I have to finish listening to that. I've listened to it through.
When did it come out officially, do you know?
Like 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago?
Okay.
It's been recent, because I remember I got a notification when I woke up one morning that it was current in my track list. It's not, I can tell you already it's not going to be as good as the first one.
Right. I listened to Rich Homie Quan, though.
I saw that on Apple Music that you would listen to it.
Yeah.
I listened to a few songs, and it was just...
generic.
Yeah.
But if you like Atlanta Trap, go listen to that one. I would honestly recommend it. Rich Homie Quan's he's not bad on that one for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a 2 Chainz album this year. He's been working. I follow him on Snapchat. The dude's always posting videos of him rapping. Like it's weird because he'll be like sitting in front of a TV smoking a blunt, and he'll just have this microphone in front of him. I don't know if he just like waits till he gets inspiration and like records a little one-liner. But he just put out that project, the 4-track project. That it was really good. But no, I think 2018 will have some more good albums. But this is definitely in the forefront.
I need an Earl Sweatshirt album.
Shit.
That's all
that won't happen, dude.
If this comes out, but imagine if Earl drops right after X, I need to be like
killing themselves.
Yeah, dude, I need to be like in a hole for a little while and just shut everybody out.
No, we need like a turn up album between this one and then Earl.
Yeah, absolutely. But tell us what you guys thought of this album. Follow us on YouTube. Leave a like or dislike if you didn't like the shit. I don't care.
I've only gotten a few of those, I think.
Fuck them. We'll get more. That's alright.
If you don't chew Big Red, then fuck it.
But yeah, tell us what you guys thought about this album. What are some albums you guys are looking forward to in the future? Follow us on Twitter. Jake is patrolling the Twitter much more than I am, but I'm gonna try and be on more.
As soon as Jalen and Taylor's wedding is over, Taylor has talked to me about wanting to do some of our social media stuff.
Oh, thank you, God.
That's what she majored in college, was communication. So hopefully we'll be able to get out on social media a little bit more.
That would be great. Because, again, unfortunately, we love doing this. We love the podcast format and everything, but we're just not as vigilant as we should be on social media. But follow us on Twitter, at HLHPO. Do you want to plug your personal Instagram?
I don't really mess with Instagram too much.
You don't. Mine is Vibe Prince, VIBE.
I just look at car stuff on Instagram.
With an underscore, because you got great cars. But thank you guys so much for listening. I hope y'all have a blessed night. Good night, everyone. Good night, Instagram Live. I love y'all.
Sorry about that loss, Jalen.
Good night.
Y'all have a good one.